You okay, Brooke? Hi, welcome to my virtual Reiki 1 class. My name's Jackie and I'm just going to demonstrate to you how to do a Reiki for a client when you're doing a full session. This just makes sure that you cover all the chakras. Before the client gets here, it's a good idea to make sure that the room is a good temperature. You don't want it to be too warm because you're going to get very hot. As the Reiki flows through you, it can increase your temperature. So you've got to make sure that you're not going to be too warm. It's good to have not many clothes on, maybe put a cardigan or a shawl when you're starting before you get too hot, something that you can easily take off. With the client, they can get quite cool because they're laying there, and as you're doing the Reiki, they get more relaxed and the blood goes to their back, so they can end up quite cool. So you want to keep an eye on their temperature. It's good to have a cover for them. If you have silk, that's ideal because if they are warm, they can breathe, but if they're cold, it keeps the body temperature in. I'm using crystals today so that I know where all the chakras are. You think that might sound strange, but everybody is so different. And the solar plexus, it's if you feel where the ribs join and go to the soft part just underneath, that is the solar plexus. But it's quite different in different bodies. So if you can establish that before you start, it's good. And then I've just put on the citrine crystal there so I know. Another point is the navel chakra. It's amazing how different navels are on people. It sounds strange, but you don't want to be feeling around in the middle of the Reiki session to find where their navel is. You don't have to use crystals. Some people I know just use swabs of material, and they've got the material that the colours matching the chakras. And that still works, and it still helps the Reiki be more powerful. So, and it's nice to have some music in the background. If the person is nervous and stressed and it's their first or second time with you, they may be a bit wary of what you're doing. So if they've got music in the background that they can focus on, it will help them to relax. You can also have some incense going or have some essential oils. With essential oils, you can put some lavender in or something that's going to give them a relaxed time. If you want to, you can stand up the whole time you're doing the Reiki, but when you think it might be 50 to 60 minutes, that can get quite tiring. And so I have chairs so that I can sit down, and that way it's more comfortable for me, and I don't have to keep thinking about my knees. Because if you are standing, make sure you don't lock your knees. You don't want to lock them, then you go to walk and you can't because your knees are jammed. So just keep your knees nice and loose if you're going to be standing. I'm going to start at the top of the head and work down to the feet because I like to do that. I think I'm opening up the client's crown chakra so that all the energy can flow through and flow down the body. And I finish at the feet with grounding and bringing her back into her body. But it doesn't have to be this way. I had a really good friend and I went to have a Reiki of her one day and she started at my feet. I thought, that's really strange. Why she grounded me before she started? Next thing I could feel the Reiki energy flowing right through me. So nothing is set in stone. And even though I've written things in the book, it's all just take it all as a guide. But the more you practice and the more you do it, the more it will become comfortable and just flow. So I'm going to start, sit down, because I can do quite a lot of positions when I'm sitting down. I'll start with the crown chakra, put my hands on her head. Another thing, you can do the whole Reiki without even touching the person, but I think there's a lot nowadays that people don't get a lot of touching, and some people live on their own especially, they might hardly get any touching, and it's so good for the soul. So I like to actually put my hands on. There's different ways you can do it. You've got to find a place that's comfortable for you, because you may be on You may be on one position for 5 minutes or more if you feel that it needs it. So you've got to think of your shoulders and your arms. It comes a little bit like doing yoga, because you get in a position and then you've got to hold it. And sometimes if you're not in a comfortable position, it could start to burn. So just play around and practice on people. Ask them if they'll give you feedback to make sure your pressure's not too strong or too light. If you're too light, it can feel as if you're tickling the person. So you want to practice. I always think there should be some energy exchange because you're giving the Reiki, but if they give you feedback, that's a good exchange. So I find with like this, my shoulders are quite out. My shoulders would start to ache if I was like this for too long. So I prefer to do it this way and keep my arms tucked in, and it's the least stretch for my body. At the beginning, if you want to connect in with guides or archangels, this is a good time. I usually ask that my guides, anybody here for Brooks High's good, can be here, that the clients, guides be here, or their angels can be here. And make sure that we do protection, so no negative energies can get in. With the Reiki, it's a bit like massage. It's best if you only move one hand at a time. If you're just going from one place and then to the next, it can feel really disconnecting to the client. So we want to make it a nice movement between one position to another. So I'm now going to go from the crown to the face. So put my hands on so that my thumbs are meeting on the third eye and my hands are cupping her eyes. Again, make sure my arms are comfortable, that I can hold that position. You don't want to be touching the nose. Even just touching, you might not be squeezing the nose, but just touching the nose, it can feel like you're blocking the airways. So that's something else to get feedbacks from people after you've done it. Did they feel they could breathe when you were doing their face? I've put a tissue onto Brooke's face just so that there's no spread of germs. And I've put a lavender iPad on so that that will help her relax. And just the weight on the eyes helps them to relax as well. Then one hand at a time, I go to the side of the face. We can hold a lot of pressure on the temples, so it's really good to do Reiki here. And it will help the person relax. There is music on YouTube for Reiki, and it has bells every 3 minutes so that you can practice before you really get into tune and just do 3 minutes in each position. That's a good guide. It would be about an hour to do the whole body. One thing you'll note, or people will notice when you're doing Reiki to them, is that your hands get really hot. Very rarely do they not heat up. And so if somebody's new to receiving Reiki, they might not feel anything except your hands being hot. But then on their second or third, they'll start to relax more and more. So from the side of the head, I'll go to the back of the head. So just gently move the head over and slide your hand underneath and rock it back. Just rock the head backwards and forwards until your hands are touching at the back. And I'll just give a little gentle pull and let my hands go down into the pillow. If this is, if a person's had energy healing before, quite often this is where they'll lose the feeling in their bodies. So no matter how many times you'll say to somebody, let me know if you're getting cool or if you're not comfortable, quite often they're just disconnected from their bodies and they're not capable of saying anything or letting you know, so that's why you need to get the person comfortable in the beginning. I like this position. It feels like when you're supporting someone's head in the swimming pool and their body's just floating in the water. That's what it reminds me of. This is one position where you move both hands at once. And you just slide your hands out and it goes to their shoulders. People carry a lot of stress on their shoulders. Can sometimes feel like they're carrying the weight of the world. I find it easiest by putting my thumbs underneath at the back of their shoulders, and it's just directing the energy in. You can go that way if you want, but I think you'll find that's too much of a stress on the shoulders. So from here we go to the throat. When you're doing the throat, you never touch a person's throat. It's very sensitive and they'll feel like they're choking. So what we do, we just put our hands, we kind of cup, rest on their collarbones and just direct the energy into the throat. While you're doing this, if you think of you can think of your own symbol that you've thought of. If you find yourself, you're starting to think of other things like what you're going to cook for dinner that night or where you're going after dinner, just start thinking of your Reiki symbol to bring you back. Or another thing, there's a couple of things you can do. You can watch the person's breath, and I like to get my breath into sync with theirs. So as they're breathing in, I'll breathe in. As they're breathing out, I'll breathe out. And then I become almost like one with them. You might find that you start breathing heavier while you're doing it. That's with the Reiki energy coming through. So everything becomes slower and relaxed. You can also be thinking of the colour of the chakra while you're there. So I'm on Brooke's throat chakra. I can imagine sky blue energy in her throat. And that's going to increase the energy as well. I always make sure I do the thymus because our high heart chakra is there. The high heart chakra is either turquoise or aqua. So if you're thinking of the colour, so from the throat, I just go to the high heart and think of aqua. Now this is all I can do from sitting in this position, so I'm going to get up and move around the side to do her heart. But I'm going to try and do it without breaking contact with Brooke. So I'll leave one hand on there. And I'll just walk around, put my hand on her heart. And just put hands on there in the middle. The heart chakra is usually about parallel with the nipples, but you would never put your hands over somebody on the side, on the nipples. You would go in the middle. You just got to be really respectful of the person laying there. And then I'll move from there to the solar plexus. And do it just like a V. feel like I just fall in love with each person that I do Reiki to, because they look so calm and relaxed and beautiful just laying there. Now, you'll notice I've got my right arm is stretched further out. So when I go to do the navel, I'm going to make sure that's the one closest to me and make the left hand further away. That way it changes the stretch on your shoulders, because you've got to think of that all the time. If you're not comfortable, you're not going to feel good about doing it. The more times you do it, the better you're going to be. I've done it all sorts of places. I've done it in forests, I've done it at the beach, I've done it on people's floors, in their beds. And you learn to become quite flexible. It is the most comfortable to do it with a massage table. Now with the base chakra, there's a couple of things we can do. You can either do it hands off, do the whole area just hands off, or you can go and do that. So you're just directing into the area but not touching that area. You finish there, position I really like to do is I do the hand and foot. Put one hand on the foot, one hand on the hand, and I envision the energy going around. So going out of my right hand, up the person's arm, into their shoulder, down their body, down their leg, into their foot, and into my left hand, up through my left arm, across my shoulders, down my right arm, and goes down into the arm of the client. So that way you've got like a loop of energy flowing around. And just imagine that energy going around. It's a really nice, relaxing, feels very balancing for the person on the table. You've got the energy running right around that side of the body. But because I'm doing it on one side, you've always got to make sure you do the other side as well. Just right foot, right arm. And do the same thing. You always receive with your left and give with your right. So imagine the energy going into her right foot, out of your right hand, up her leg, up her body, shoulder, down her arm, into my left hand, up my arm, and down. And I sometimes just go around and direct it with my eyes. It helps me to visualize the energy flowing around. It's always good to make sure you do both sides of a person, so otherwise they might walk out feeling lopsided if you only do one side. Then I like to do the hips. There's no chakras in the hips, but the hips support our body. And it's a nice, solid feeling to give them the Reiki in their hips. Feels very nurturing and comforting for the client. Also you'll see that my right side is more stretched as I'm going over to the hip. So the next thing I'm going to do is the knees. So I bring my right hand into the knee that's closest to me and swap the left hand over, so that's stretching more. You just got to think of your own comfort and moving around. I really like to do the knees because it's so nice to cup the knees. And knees are so important to get Reiki because that's about you moving forward in life. And if a person's feeling stuck and not sure what they're doing, they may want to do something else with their lives, it's really good to Reiki their knees. My son was feeling uncomfortable about his job. He had really bad knees, and he had an opportunity of a job. He just had to make an appointment for an interview, and he just couldn't do it, and his knees kept hurting. I was saying, make the appointment, go and see about the new job, and it will help your knees. Finally, after a month of agony, he rang up, made an interview, went to see the people and got the job, and his knee pain went. So knees are very indicative of when you're stuck somewhere, and you can Reiki your own knees if you're feeling you don't know where to go or you don't know what to do next. But that is lovely to Reiki. Then I go down to the ankle, so once again I'll move my left hand so it's closest to me and the right hand farther away, so I'm changing that stretch on my body. Now ankles, when you think about it, do a massive job. They support our whole body. So we want to give lots of Reiki to the ankles. And then when you do the feet, this is bringing the energy back to them. It's grounding them. You can either do the tops or you could do underneath. Whatever feels comfortable for you, and this is where you've got to practice to find what you are most comfortable with. Sometimes a person's so relaxed, it's really hard to bring them back, and so I use hematite. If you put a hematite at each foot, I put one at each foot and one in the middle, so it creates like a triangle, and that brings them back pretty quickly. You can also start directing the energy down to their feet. That will help to bring them back. So before I finish, I like to put a bubble of energy around the person. So envisage a bubble coming out of my hands, going up to the whole body, the top of their head, and now imagine it going underneath. So they're going out of here in a bubble of light energy. Get to the bottom, I just tie a little knot so they're all encased in the energy. Before you start, it's good to tell the person that you're going to go move down their bodies. When they get to their feet, that's the end. You might want to say something to them, just relax while you go and wash your hands, and you'll come back with a glass of water for them. Probably best to say to them not to, if they could not move until you come back if you're using crystals. Otherwise the crystals might end up all over the floor. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.